FM.
We are broadcasting live from the Woodlands, Texas to the world. You're listening to the only multimedia FM station in Houston, Texas. Your Fusion Radio. Top 40s, dance, Latin, country, pop, rock and roll. All in one station. Mixing genres and generations. You're listening to KNLY, New Waverly, Texas. 91.1 FM, The Boss.
The program presented are submitted by members of our community and are a proud sponsor of KNLY 91.1 FM. The views expressed do not necessarily reflect those of KNLY 91.1 FM and its affiliates.
We're here in the Woodlands, Texas, and yes, I've got the counseling queens back in the house. welcome, Margarita Coe and Bridget Selecka. So, welcome this morning, ladies. I hate to say this. This is good news. Is we have an hour today. Everyone, we have an hour, so we get to talk it out. But bad news is this is it. You ladies have to come back. We're going to have to do another segment or something down the road. We'll figure it out. But anyway. So I know last Friday we kind of touched into vulnerability, and we talked about whether that's it's interesting because I thought about it when I said for me being vulnerable in a relationship is difficult, and what I mean is that I don't mind being vulnerable, but it's difficult for me to want to just do that up front. Right. And is that I guess to the point is learning from prior experiences. You don't want to just be so vulnerable up front, right. And so we talked into that, and I know I also said something about I don't want anybody to make me feel a certain way, and Bridget, you stopped me because you said no one can make you feel anything. I have the power. We as individuals have the power to reject when something comes our way or to control how we feel, and so I think that was a very good point. And picking off of that this morning, Margarita, you said something this morning. You want to kind of open it up with that. You teach people how you want them to treat you. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, absolutely. So last time I had said a couple of times when somebody shows you who they are, trust them, believe them, right?
Yeah.
And take it at face value. A lot of times what people do is instead of responding with your initial reaction of, hold on, that doesn't sound right, what we do is we kind of, not we, but folks do in general, we kind of swallow that because we're like, well, maybe I'm wrong. I don't want to upset this person. I don't want to, steer this relationship the wrong way. But what you're essentially doing is you're teaching that person that what they said is okay. It's acceptable, or what they did.
Instead of rejecting it.
Right, instead of rejecting it and building those parameters, those boundaries of this is not acceptable for me, and it might break up the relationship, but that's a good thing because that's not a relationship.
Yeah, but you bring out a great point, and I'm going to address that because to anyone out there, I've probably fallen victim of it myself. You are starting a relationship with someone, whether it be a boyfriend, girlfriend, a new friendship with a girl, or business, whatever. Sometimes, how do you get over that? And I'm sure a lot of people can attest to this. That happy phase. Well, I don't want to initially assume that this is a great moment right now. I'm liking this person. If we're happy, we're jiving. I don't want to just jump to addressing what they're saying to me right now because I don't want to create any negativity. How do you separate that feeling from let me reject this and cut this down right up front?
Sure.
That's my question.
Well, I think you're right. In the beginning, as you're navigating a relationship, it is you don't know the person that well, right? So you're not going to just jump in probably and have all of these deep, conversations about the relationship maybe. But there's ways to gently form those boundaries, and to be, gently showing the other person how it is that you expect. If someone says something that's a bit out of line, you could say, oh, hang on there a second, that didn't feel good to hear that. What did you mean
What
by
did you
that?
mean?
Or,
Yeah.
you know.
Can you
so-
clarify? Have them
Right.
talk.
Communication. I guess what I'm hearing is if what you're, this is to people out there listening, right? If you're starting something new, whatever it be, yes, to the point necessarily we don't need to jump to conclusions.
Right.
But we've got to figure it out up front. So we do not get caught up.
Right.
Communicate. Ask 100 times. Dig deep is what you're
You're
saying.
starting to manage that relationship, right? So if someone, let's say it's two people in a new dating relationship, right? And the person is calling you, you know, and texting you 20, 30 times a day, right? That would be the time, right? Because you don't want to end up
Don't
in a
say,
relationship
oh my God, that's flattering.
overly
That's great.
clingy, right? That would be the
Yeah.
time to start managing that and saying, you know, I love when I get texts from you, but, you know, 20 times when I'm at work, I can't get 20 texts when I'm at work. So can we, you know, plan to talk at 6 o'clock every day or something like that? You're just
Yes.
starting
You're building
gently
parameters.
Yes.
to
Yes.
do that.
And if they don't like it, if they've got a problem, well, then you know something new about this person. That's how you get. That's how you get.
Well, it goes back to your point. Believe what they say the first time.
Yes.
If they
Right.
get immediately upset about that, imagine what's going to happen down the road.
Right.
If that is initially the first thing they're going to get upset about.
That's
and
right.
those are some of the things I think what you're saying is we have to, you know, because then it becomes to the next point where you start to they accept what you allow them, you accept, and now you've created a storm.
Right.
Right.
And it just starts
and
to
nobody
spiral.
knows anyone what's going on in each other's worlds, and that's how, if you're married or in a long-term relationship, folks can live together and it's like ships sailing in the night, right? You
Right.
don't know anything about the person you're living with.
Right.
You're kind of strangers, and it's because
Right.
a lot of folks do this. It's like, I'll just bite my tongue. I don't need to upset
Right.
them, and what you end up doing is
Right.
alienating yourself and the other person, or ostracizing.
And you know, and I'm going to go back on another point, authenticity. I think that's the other issue that comes up in my mind because I am so authentic. I'm so direct. I'm so
You are,
real.
yeah.
I'm just raw. I'll just tell you how I feel, and I expect people to be just as honest with me. And I know they're very rare. Will you find
That's
people
right.
that are like me? And of course, I'm aware of that now. Having learned, but the point I get with that is, how do you decipher and quickly get to the point? And I think it goes back to the communication, because a lot of times when you're like who I am, you take, when you're trying to decipher how authentic someone is up front, and that determines how much you begin to communicate. Because if they're saying something to you, I guess is what I'm saying, and they're not being authentic, and so you're taking what they're saying and you're acting on that,
Right.
and then 6 months, 3 months, whatever it is, that changes on you, then because they were never authentic to begin with. And that is important to get the communication and the authentication out, right?
Well, let's remember that there's no perfect relationship. There's
Sure.
no perfect person, right? So other people are not being as authentic because, you know, they're probably scared to be fully authentic,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And our brains are hardwired
Sure.
for protection.
Sure.
Right? So we talked about that, touching the hot stove, right, last
Sure,
time. The
sure.
brains are hardwired for protection. So if the other person isn't able to be that fully authentic, then that's something you build over time, right? But you only have the information that you have.
Correct.
And you're acting on that. And so when you have two people that are in two different places with this, it can become problematic, right?
Sure. Of
Right.
course.
And it
You
goes
know?
back to your point, teaching people, you know, you've got to try to decipher as quick as possible, communicate.
Right.
And if you see something or hear something, it's your goal to dig as deep as you can to get as much as you can out.
Right.
And
Right.
then teach them what you want, set your boundaries, and stop them
And
at that
set the
point.
tone
Yeah.
for the relationship.
Sure.
You get to set the tone. Like, it's okay for you to say to someone, listen, I'm a straight up person.
Yeah.
And I would rather have you give me a piece of negative feedback than to
Oh,
hold
yeah.
that back, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm the same, Kesha. Like, I would just rather
Come
have...
on, Bridget, let's just go.
I
Let's show
would
the
just-
world what they need to be like. Tell us, yeah.
I would just rather be
Yeah.
like, and I will say this to people,
Yeah.
right? Like, in new
Yeah.
relationships, like, if I'm saying or doing something that I say this to my
Right.
counseling clients all the time, right? It's very important in
Yes.
counseling that you come in and say to me at the next session,
Right.
Bridget, when you said this, gosh, that didn't feel good to me, or
Right.
or I was thinking about that was bothering me all weekend,
Well-
right? I'd rather have someone come. I know you
Well,
would
that's
too,
a great,
right?
yeah, that's
Okay.
a great part of therapy, and I can be, I've been told I can be intense, right?
Yeah.
And as a therapist, it
I
doesn't
love
always
that, yeah.
vibe. Sometimes I'll catch on to a thought, and I'm like, oh, let's work on
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
And what I work with some clients on is saying, hold on.
It's too
You
heavy.
are, something's coming up in me, right? That doesn't feel right, or I'm able to, as a therapist, also stop and be like, what happened?
Right.
Sure.
Right? I notice a change in me, there's a change in you, and we work on that dynamic, helping people
That's right.
kind of
Yeah.
find their voice
Right.
and be able to kind of work through that.
That's
Yeah.
right. And
Yeah.
if the counseling relationship isn't like that,
Yeah.
it's not going to work well. But because
Yeah.
it's that relationship is like a microcosm of
Yes.
all of their outside relationships, it's a really good place to work on this and to be modeling.
Yeah.
You know, you model it for the client,
Right.
you know, by being really truthful with them, and hopefully
They
they
can
get
start
to
to-
practice that with you before
It's
they're
all about the
practicing it in
practice.
their real relationships, right?
Yeah. Well, you ladies helped me realize in last week that, loyalty is very important to me. But I've learned now authenticity is very important to me because of who I am. So if a person is more authentic, then to me that goes miles because of my direct. And that is something that I never really, you think about loyalty, but you don't think about authenticity. And I think
Yeah.
that's huge. We're going to take a quick commercial and we'll be right back.
We are broadcasting live from the Woodlands, Texas to the world. You're listening to the only multimedia FM station in Houston, Texas. Your fusion radio. Top 40s, dance, Latin, country, pop, rock and roll. All in one station. Mixing genres and generations. You're listening to KNLY, New Waverly, Texas. 91.1 FM, The Boss.
It's time to be super again. It's beach season. Killer abs.
Do you feel that your energy costs are unnaturally high? Do you want to fortify your building and keep it strong and secure for years to come? Then NRG Spray Foam Installation is the answer you're looking for. Our unique foam installation is made to help our customers save in energy, prevent gas, air, and moisture infiltration, as well as helping with general stability in your building structure. Call us at 713-936-3021 or visit us online at nrgfoam.com for more information. NRG Spray Foam. Building green, living green.
This message was from a proud sponsor to KNLY 91.1 FM.
For any maintenance needs on your commercial or personal vehicle, EVG Loan Store Service specializes on European, Asian, and domestic vehicles. We can assist you with wheel alignments, tire balance, AC services, computer and electric diagnostic, and more. We're located at corner of 1230 Aldine Mail Route and Reeston Road in Houston 77039. Our phone number is 936-344-1672, or you can find us on our webpage www.evglss.com. EVG Loan Star. If it's got wheels, we can fix it.
This was a proud sponsor of KNLY 91.1 FM.
For fresh flowers fast, call Barb's Iris Floral at 281-820-2294 with excellent customer service since 1983 for weddings, funeral services, sweet 15s, corporate events, and all occasions. For that special someone you love, barbsirisfloral.com and barbsirisfloralboutique.com. Come on in and pick out of our prestigious gallery at 727 Westmont Houston Road, Houston, Texas 77038. Text 832-466-8414. Barb's Iris Floral delivers fresh flowers fast.
This message was from a proud sponsor to KNLY 91.1 FM.
H-Town is the most culturally diverse city in America. H-Town Award's sole mission is to celebrate the great diversity of our city. Our artists, citizens, and philanthropists and businesses are second to none. H-Town is the best city in the world, and our people are the best people on earth. Join us in celebrating all musical genres and the diversity of our beautiful city. H-Town Award Show, November 2019. We'll see you there.
For more information, follow us on social media at H-Town Awards or send us an email at info@htownawards.com.
This was a proud sponsor of KNLY 91.1 FM.
Welcome back to Today with Cachet. It's Friday. We're here in the Woodlands and we're talking all about relationships. We have the amazing Margarita and Bridget here in the studio this morning, and we were just kind of wrapping up a little bit about from last week about the vulnerability and authenticity, and great point you brought up this morning, Margarita, about you teach people how you want them to treat you based on how you handle what they give you and if you accept it or not, right?
Right.
So, but last week we had different questions that were posed to us, and we didn't get to all of them. And one of the ones we've been talking a lot about, I think, kind of the boyfriend, girlfriend style relationship, but let's dibble into a little bit about girlfriends or boyfriends and just a group of guys. Linda had posed a question just in general about the bonds of friendships and how that. What would you say, I guess, in general, the biggest issues you find and you hear about for the ladies that come in your office that they run into with their girlfriends and their relationships that kind of, really is hard for them?
I think when I've had people bring that particular issue into therapy, a lot of times it's been about the unspoken between the two people, small hurts that happen and develop, and maybe a girlfriend has said or done something that's been hurtful, and kind of shoving that down, not saying anything about it, not addressing it in the moment. And the thing is that shoving down, we know in therapy, works great, actually, until it doesn't work anymore.
Okay.
Right? And those emotions have a sneaky way. I explain it to my clients as like, imagine there's like, you have a bowl of water, and you put a sponge on top, and the sponge is holding everything down, right?
Sure.
It will eventually, that sponge is going to sink, right? Or the water is going to bubble up through. And our feelings are like that too.
Yeah.
So a lot of times it could be a disagreement, but like we were talking about in break, you can have two vastly different kinds of people who disagree on lots of things that can still be very close friends and have deep friendships, right? But it's all about that communication, that authenticity. When you feel like you have that, you don't have to agree on everything, right? You can be very different people, and it's okay.
Yeah, we're essentially social beings, and part of the problem I believe we're having in society is we don't have enough community support, enough friends, enough kind of interaction outside of work or what we're doing. And so part of that with friends, even if we don't agree on everything, which is great because it opens your worldview and it gives you other options, it is important to know what the purpose of each relationship is.
Right.
Is it a friendship that you really want to build and have this best close friend, or is it our kids play together and we're friendly?
Yeah, you hear that so much. I hang out with this person because our kids go to school and it works for the kids and the family. Well, what are you really doing?
And I don't really like them.
Yeah, I hear it all the time. I really don't like them, but we travel with them because we do it with the kids. Well, what?
Right.
What are you living? You're not being authentic.
Right.
You can't. This is not going to go anywhere. I mean, and I speak like that because I speak from an authentic style. And so if you're not that style, I guess you can get away with that, but until it doesn't work.
Until it doesn't.
But and then they end up going, what's going on? And another thing to your point, I want to dabble into this, see what you ladies think, and we'll go to one more question that we had from last week. But compartmentalizing things. I always tend to do that in my way of saying, okay, if I'm going through something, let me just chop it up and deal with it. How does that work? Is that a good thing, or is that go back to it works until it doesn't work?
It can be very much like that. And some people do manage their life that way. Like my work's very separate from my personal relationships and that's okay. But again, if we're compartmentalizing to not deal with things, right? Or if there's I'm thinking dissociative aspect. We could get real clinical, but sometimes we see that with some kinds of dissociation, right? That people can be compartmentalizing in very maladaptive, unhealthy ways. I don't know. What do you think about that?
I think, part of it, I think it's healthy because it helps you get through things and get things accomplished, right?
Logical,
Right. I mean, if you have all this stuff going on at home and it's chaos or there's a lot of emotions, how do you show up at work? You can't.
It's adaptive in that situation.
Very adaptive. Yes. However, if not you or anybody is doing it of, okay, this is work and this is home and this is I've seen it with intimacy with couples, right?
Okay.
In terms of once you become that couple, it's no longer sexy.
Yeah.
It becomes this is our role as a couple versus
Yeah.
this is our role as an intimate couple, and so they struggle having that intimate time. That becomes maladaptive. That's the first thing that came to me in
your
regards to
mind from a
couples.
couple.
But
Yeah.
do you have any thoughts?
Well, and the thing is too that our relationships and those compartments change over time.
Sure.
Right? So for years I was in, I had that parenting compartment,
Yes.
right? And both of my kids, my daughter's leaving today for
Oh my
college,
gosh.
and so
Oh, no.
suddenly, and this is why it's so important in love relationships, right? And couples, parenting relationships, to keep that relationship alive and going and healthy and rich, right? And
Right.
deep, because the kids grow up and move out.
Right.
And they're
you hear
gone
that.
someday,
You hear that
right?
all the time.
Yes.
Because a lot of people, back to the last week, we talked about when we said, how can people function? And sometimes people do it for the kids. And they say we make this agreement that the relationship is going to work for this way. And it does in some cases,
Sure.
Right.
where they have their life and they have their life. But then when the kids leave, you hear so often, wow, then the divorce rate goes up, or this person goes this direction.
Right.
How do you continually stay connected, or unless you've already agreed that that's what you want to do? I don't know. That's your point. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's an important thing to navigate
Yeah.
through
Well, you have
possibly
to-
with a therapist.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So with relationships, it's not some.
Yeah.
A huge problem I see is people get together and then they just kind of go through the day, right? It's
Right.
routine.
Right.
When it's routine and you don't
Yeah.
pay attention to it, right?
That's right.
And you don't give it that priority,
Yeah.
you're going to lose some of that connectedness and intimacy because it's just going to go to the side and nothing thrives if it's not being paid attention to, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you'll hear that, right? There's that saying, like, you have to make the marriage, or the
Oh, sure.
couple.
You've gotta keep it
come-
exciting.
Well, but
Yeah.
you have to put that first,
Yeah. Yeah.
And some people might, even some therapists might disagree with that. But I personally think that tends to work, right? If you put the relationship first and then the
Yeah.
parenting stuff, flows out of
Well, yeah,
that
and I-
mutual respect
Sure, sure.
and love and concern.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think you have to genuinely be friends and genuinely like each other, right? Because as things go up and down in a relationship, those
Right.
meters of intimacy, the meters of excitement, if you don't like each other, you're looking over at each other, or you're not cool, or you can't have fun with each other, then
Right.
there's going to be a problem, and that goes with any relationship.
And is that just a season?
Yeah.
Because I mean,
Hey, the
I've
reason
been,
the season, the
yeah.
lifetime.
Because
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I've been married for almost 30 years,
Sure.
and we've probably had times in our relationship that maybe we didn't like each other so much.
Yeah,
but
that's
it was
true.
momentary,
That
right?
is
it
a
was,
very good point.
is this a
How long is
longer
this gonna
term
last?
issue, or is this you're going through a rough couple of months because of
And
whatever?
if someone jets
you know?
out during that period, they messed up because they made
Possibly,
because it was
right.
just a season.
Yeah.
And that's a very good point.
Is there
Yeah.
opportunity for repair, and that's
Yeah.
Right,
really
and,
your area.
Well, yeah, and an
Interesting.
opportunity to learn about yourself.
Yeah.
Sometimes those struggles in relationships are great opportunities for ourselves to take the time to see what is it that I did to make this the way that what is my
Yeah,
contribution
exactly.
and how can I fix it? How
Right.
can I grow with this? Right?
Because it's interesting, I bet, and I haven't sat with you ladies, but I bet when people sit in your office and they talk with you, which is fascinating, once you start to realize some of the things that you did or who you really are, then you go, I bet there's a lot of light bulbs that go off and a lot of tears that get shed and go, oh my God, I just screwed this up, this up, this up, this up.
Yeah.
Where do I go from here? I bet that happens because to your
does.
point of what you're saying right now, I can understand that just intellect-wise, that as if you start to realize some of this stuff you're saying,
Right.
then you go back to some of the things you did in life and in general, people, and you go, oh, wow, I would have maybe did this differently, or I said something that created this to happen.
Right.
It's a lot of different layers is what I'm hearing. Interesting.
You're getting at an important point, though,
Am I?
Cache,
Okay,
which
well, stay on it.
which is
Yeah.
about what's the purpose of therapy, right?
Yeah.
And so what you're talking about is developing it. So in my mind, and we can talk about this, but in my mind, the purpose of therapy is developing insight, recognizing patterns, reducing symptoms, reducing distress, right? And then this journey of personal growth. There's probably more to add in there.
I think you pretty much covered all of
But
them.
you're talking about developing insight, like where you have those light bulbs going out, like, oh, I
Yeah.
do this, and
Right.
I've done this
Right.
in my past 3 or 4 relationships,
Right,
right?
right.
And do I want to keep that pattern
Right.
going, or do I want to try to change something?
Right,
here?
interesting. And I think to add on to what Linda was saying, she was saying relationship with girlfriends is a needed and also fulfilling part of life. I think so. To her point was, it's not something that is, well, I think I may want to have a girlfriend. Some people say, I don't really have any girlfriends. I think what she's trying to convey and to ask is, that's actually a necessity. You need to have that. And we all would agree with that. Is that correct?
I would agree with that, absolutely.
Well, like you said, about being social beings.
Yeah.
We are social beings.
I like when folks come in and they tell me that they have no friends, that is a light bulb that goes
That's
off.
a red flag.
Yeah, what's going on?
That's a red flag.
Nobody likes me. I have no friends.
Let's walk
ding,
forward
ding,
to
ding.
that. Yes.
Or they've defined themselves as someone who doesn't like people, or
Yeah.
who doesn't need anyone else.
It goes
Yes,
back to
I'm
necessity.
independent. I can do it all by myself. I don't need anybody. Everything's working
Something's
great.
not right. Something's not
not
right.
working.
There was another question that was brought up from last week as well. When someone in your life continually makes choices that are self-destructive, they don't follow advice or counsel, is it perfectly acceptable to, at your own self-preservation, to say to that person, I love you and I have been here for you, but I will no longer go down this road with you, et cetera, et cetera. One, can't be manipulated, et cetera. That's just what the question was.
Yeah. Okay, me?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take it. Yeah.
I think we're going to have the same answer.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think absolutely. If you've had a discussion, if you've been authentic, if they've said they will change, and you don't see any effort, the one thing is that people do try to change, and change is very hard. It is very, very difficult to change your patterns.
Yes.
It's a daily kind of attention-seeking situation. So if somebody's trying and it's not happening as quickly as you would like, that's different than they're not trying and they're just not willing, right?
Yeah.
So if they're trying, you really have to weigh that out, and if it's not fast enough for you, that's fine too. It's
Right.
your boundary, and it's okay to just say no more.
And I love before the show when Margarita said, toxic people got to go.
Yeah.
I mean, if someone is continually toxic in
What
your
more do you
life,
need,
and it's
right? Yeah.
right, and it's not, that it's not a healthy situation. You have tried to repair, right, and you have tried to help them understand what you need and how their behavior is impacting you. Sadly, there is a time and place to let a relationship go, and that's okay.
That's okay. Yeah, and to your point, here, the one thing I'm going to throw out, just a question that popped in my head, what about those cases you hear about? And I'm also, we talk about, being an authentic person and being direct. But you also have people that are strong in their conviction, so to speak. What if you hear these cases where someone says, I didn't give up, even though the sign showed this person was not right, they didn't think they were all in, but I knew in my heart that this person was for me, and I kept fighting, and then one day you hear about it where, the other person says, gosh, I'm so glad that person fought for me, because we were meant to be. How do you know? I mean, and I guess no one really knows, but, are there those cases where sometimes they're not communicating, they're not being authentic, they're not being loyal, but you know what? It ends up being the charm of your life, and it works out in the end. And I guess it can always happen. But you hear about that. Where
Like
people
persistence.
stay in and they fight.
They have persistence to fight
You'll hear,
for the relationship.
Whether it's a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, or just two friends, where they wanted to be a friend to that person. Could be two girlfriends, and they weren't accepted because the other group said no, you couldn't have her in, and the other person still wanted to be friends with her, and they kept coming and coming, and sometimes I guess it does work.
We do hear about that. I don't know I think that persistence is a good personal quality. I think we have to listen, to our inner voice.
Sure.
And sometimes when we really know, when I always tell people to trust their gut.
Yes.
On something.
Oh, I totally agree with that.
And I think as long as it's a loving persistence, that you are still pursuing that relationship in a way that doesn't feel offensive or stalkery or something like that to the other. But you're like, no, I really feel like. But I mean, that came through my mind.
That's right, dong. I didn't know what it meant when you didn't answer, so I thought it would come to your house. I didn't get you my address. Well,
37.
That's actually what I thought of when she said stalkery, like when folks show up at your house. Yes.
Again, with their pillow and blankets.
But again, boundaries are important.
Yeah, right.
But sometimes you do hear those stories about, the two. And I'll tell you, my husband and I broke up after senior year of high school. I told you.
Yeah.
But I remember waking up one day and having that feeling like, no, we're really meant to be together.
Yeah.
And going to him, and I'll tell that whole story one day because it's
to
funny.
show.
It's like a scene from a movie.
Yeah.
But I felt strongly, and he wasn't so sure, right? Because he'd been hurt.
I know.
So he proceeded more cautiously back into the relationship, and I gave him the space to do that. So I think if it's approached respectfully, and you really feel like you're meant to be with this person, but again, relationships are two-way streets.
So I guess
the other person has to have some interest also.
Here's where you can chime in to tell me if this may be a way to handle that, is to create boundaries in a case where a person obviously is hurting, but if you feel that in your heart that you want to be, or that this could be, keep connected to some level that is not too psychotic, but keep some communication to some level that keeps a relationship, whether it's a friendship or some type of bond, so that maybe eventually as that person heals, they will come to it, like in your case, or I don't know the whole story, but he didn't know, but I guess you created something that made him realize,
we gave it the time and space to figure it out.
Space.
But what comes to mind is affairs, right?
Yeah.
Because I think you probably see this a lot with affairs, right? That one person is more vested in staying in the relationship than possibly the other. The other person may not be so sure, and the one person's like, no, we've got to work this out. It's meant to be. And that's a tough situation for couples therapists, I think, to navigate.
So that goes into trust, and I'm sure a lot of things.
Yeah. Well, typically, people don't typically have affairs for what we think is it's a lot of emotional stuff, especially, ironically, especially for men. Usually when there's an affair, it is the emotional needs of a person are not being met. And so you go and seek that out, right? Or whether we're having intimate affairs or like.
So basically, you're saying it's not always, people think of affairs as sexual, and it's not always about that.
Right.
Yes, that is probably the gratification that comes from it, but it's not always the driving factor to why they're doing it and what they're feeling their need is, why they're getting it.
Absolutely,
Okay.
yes.
We're going to take a quick commercial, and when we come back, now we're going to talk a little bit about how do you walk into these offices now that you've been hearing about this and learning, maybe I do need to talk to somebody. We'll be right back.
We are broadcasting live from the Woodlands, Texas to the world. You're listening to the only multimedia FM station in Houston, Texas. Your Fusion Radio. Top 40s, dance, Latin, country, pop, rock and roll. All in one station. Mixing genres and generations. You're listening to KNLY, New Waverly, Texas. 91.1 FM, The Boss.
It's time to be super again. It's beach season. Killer abs.
Do you feel that your energy costs are unnaturally high? Do you want to fortify your building and keep it strong and secure for years to come? Then NRG Spray Foam Insulation is the answer you're looking for. Our unique foam insulation is made to help our customers save in energy, prevent gas, air, and moisture infiltration, as well as helping with general stability in your building structure. Call us at 713-936-3021 or visit us online at nrgfoam.com for more information. NRG Spray Foam. Building green, living green.
This message was from a proud sponsor to KNLY 91.1 FM.
For any maintenance needs on your commercial or personal vehicle, EVG Lone Star Service specializes on European, Asian, and domestic vehicles. We can assist you with wheel alignments, tire balance, AC services, computer and electric diagnostic, and more. We're located at corner of 1230 Aldine Mail Route and Reeston Road in Houston 77039. Our phone number is 936-344-1672, or you can find us on our webpage www.evglss.com. EVG Lone Star. If it's got wheels, we can fix it.
This was a proud sponsor of KNLY 91.1 FM.
For fresh flowers fast, call Barb's Iris Floral at 281-820-2294 with excellent customer service since 1983 for weddings, funeral services, sweet 15s, corporate events, and all occasions. For that special someone you love, barbsirisfloral.com and barbsirisfloralboutique.com. Come on in and pick out of our prestigious gallery at 727 Westmont Houston Road, Houston, Texas 77038. Text 832-466-8414. Barb's Iris Floral delivers fresh flowers fast.
This message was from a proud sponsor to KNLY 91.1 FM.
H-Town is the most culturally diverse city in America. H-Town Award's sole mission is to celebrate the great diversity of our city. Our artists, citizens, and philanthropists and businesses are second to none. H-Town is the best city in the world, and our people are the best people on earth. Join us in celebrating all musical genres and the diversity of our beautiful city. H-Town Award Show, November 2019. We'll see you there.
For more information, follow us on social media at H-Town Awards or send us an email at info@htownawards.com.
This was a proud sponsor of KNLY 91.1 FM.
That'd be fun.
Welcome back to Today with Cachet. It's Friday. We're here in the Woodlands, Texas, and we're here in the studio with Margarita and Bridget talking all about relationships. So, okay, we were talking about doing commercials, so everyone's hearing all this information and starting to realize, I'm going to just kind of open it up with this. I think in society sometimes people say there's a taboo associated with, shh, don't tell anybody you're going to the counselor. Shh, I don't need that. I'm not, it's like I've got it all together. It's not that, I mean, it's like, do you shun yourself and don't tell someone you're going to have a massage? No, because you need a massage because your muscles are hurting. If you need some help, go see, a counselor. And so people that are hearing and want to come to you, what's it like? I mean, what's the process? How can they get past that? And what would it be like once they get to you?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I always like to honor people when they first come in for being really brave, because I think it's a super scary thing to do if you've never been to a therapist. I think we do have so many stigmas in society about it still, about mental health and wellness. And I think that there's very specific ethnic and cultural groups where going outside of the group or outside of the family really is frowned upon. So what it sounds like, I think what you're getting at is what does it, when you want to go get help, what does that look like? So you call a therapist. So how do you find a therapist? Well, you might ask people for a recommendation.
Yeah.
That's usually a really good one.
A lot of folks come by recommendation of somebody they trust or they've heard. The other one is, the big one is Psychology
Today, which is kind of like a search engine, you know, and so that may or may not be, an effective way. You're going to get a bunch of counselors' names. I get all of my referrals, pretty much 100% of them, by word of mouth.
Okay.
Most of them, I have to say. I have a really small practice, though.
Okay.
So, but I would say that the thing is, if you want to use your insurance, it's really important that you check with your insurance and see who's in network with your insurance. If you don't want to use your insurance and you're willing to private pay, that opens up a lot more options for you, because a lot of therapists don't. Like, I don't accept insurance. Do you accept insurance?
I don't, and one of the, well, I'm not going to say the great things. Insurance is amazing because it does cover the service, and so you can get access to the service. The difference is, you do have your information does get shared with the insurance carrier to some degree if you're using insurance.
They have a right to access your files and whatnot.
Absolutely.
So a lot, some people don't want that, and that's fine. But if you need to use your insurance, and certainly it's much more cost effective to do that. But when you, when you call me or therapists like us. The first thing I'm going to do is ask you some questions on the phone, because I'm trying to figure out what's happening here, and does this sound like the kind of issue that I work with?
Sure.
So sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's an eating disorder, and I know that I refer those, so I would send those on to someone who specializes in that.
Yeah, so most therapists have a specialty or a niche area where they are really strong, and so for me it is kind of personality challenges or couples, right? Maybe some parenting. Bridget, I know you work with maybe grief.
Grief. I do a lot of work with grief. I do a lot of work with trauma. Also relationship stuff, but I'm not I don't consider myself a couples therapist.
And
So more of an
relationship with-
individual,
yes.
a person's individual issues, clinical issues like mood disorders, bipolar disorders, anxiety, OCD, things like that. So then the therapist says, okay, this sounds like, we want to bring you in for an initial appointment.
Right.
So there's going to be some paperwork. The state of Texas, every state mandates that a licensed therapist have some kind of paperwork.
Okay.
So mine you fill out online. Do you do yours online
All
too?
online,
Yeah.
everything.
Most
is-
therapists have
yeah.
moved to,
Okay.
so you're scrolling
And
through
everything
and
is
clicking it on.
confidential and
That's
private,
right.
that
Right,
kind of
and
thing.
that's an important word that you just used
Right.
because not only is your time with a therapist and what you say within that room confidential, but we have legal privilege, and there's only a couple of professions, right, that you have privilege with, which
Sure.
is, with a lawyer, with a counselor, maybe with a Catholic priest.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But I mean, there aren't too many situations in
Where
life
that
where you're
exists, yeah.
guaranteed. I mean, there's some very specific exceptions to,
Sure.
when confidentiality can be broken. But for the most part, generally, what you're talking about within that room is just between you and the therapist. So we bring you in for a first appointment, and for me, that's just all about, is this the right fit?
Sure.
And I'm probably a little bit different than maybe how some other counselors roll, but for me, if the relationship isn't right and the fit doesn't
You'll
feel
tell them.
right.
100%.
Yeah,
Time for you to
because
go.
It's
Can't
not-
handle you. Yeah.
Well,
No.
That's not.
I get it.
Typically, I
Yeah,
will
I
always
get it.
tell the
Yeah.
first session. I will say, "Hey, feel me out."
Yeah.
Right?
Does it work
Oh, I
for
like
you?
that.
I can be
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
sarcastic. I can be again and I
Yeah,
get very
direct.
excited about
Yeah.
things, and sometimes that just does not work for people.
Because
Right.
again, it's a
Yeah,
relationship.
Yes.
We're not going to be the right counselors for every
Right,
person.
right.
So it's really important that if it doesn't feel like the right fit, sometimes in that first appointment, some other issues that maybe the person didn't feel comfortable talking on the phone about
out.
Oh,
kind of
yes.
emerge, and you realize, okay, there's something else happening here.
Sure.
Maybe they need a referral to a medical doctor
Yeah.
to try to, have a physical. We always, with anything mental health, want to rule out a biological basis first. Every
Sure.
single disorder in the DSM says rule out biological cause.
Oh, really? Yeah.
So the first thing is you have to go
Right.
Get
to-
medical.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which I guess is
So-
right, because a lot of times, isn't it true that sometimes people are off balance chemically?
Yes.
And a lot
That's
of times
right.
food imbalances and things like that have a lot to do
That's right.
with
Yes.
why a person's acting a certain way, and if they fix that,
Right.
oh my God, it's just
And
things like that.
sometimes someone really might need some medicine, and we
Right.
know. And I don't always jump to
Right.
medicine. I don't think any of us really just jump to let's get this person medicated.
Right.
But sometimes it's really appropriate to send for a medical
Sure.
referral to see if medicine's appropriate. Because with some issues and disorders, really, we know that the best practice is therapy with medicine.
Sure.
So
Whether that's depression or
the
some
medication
other
gives
issues.
you a good jumping off spot.
Okay.
So when we're trying to work with clients, right, to self-regulate and
Yeah.
things like distress
Good point.
tolerance, right? Can you be uncomfortable in the moment and not act on it?
Sure.
So if you are so dysregulated by the time you come into therapy and you're either crying all the time or you're angry or
Right.
your life is a whirlwind, what medication allows is for you to get just a base.
Right.
Neutralize.
Just neutralize you a little
neutralizes
bit.
you, yeah.
And so you can work on those
That's
things
right.
and you could start reteaching your neurons and your just neurobiology in general.
That's right.
How to respond to situations without always being on like pins and needles.
Right.
Always,
Right,
yeah.
because sometimes, like with some things, with severe anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
it's very hard to work on severe anxiety, right?
Right.
And
address all the other stuff.
when the anxiety is happening, it
Yeah.
prevents sometimes the work. So
Right.
sometimes having some medicine to reduce, symptom reduction is what we're talking about, and get that anxiety brought in a little bit so that we can actually do the work.
Yes.
So we have that whole conversation, and then it's an agreement about what are we trying to work on here, establishing goals, and figuring out what's going to be the best plan
The plan of action.
to help get the
And
person
that's
where they want
having
to
a plan,
go.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, if we're living in our lives out there and we're just existing, we don't have a plan, we have nowhere to start.
Right.
Right? And
Get a little lost.
You get people, you're giving people just a kind of a balance to get back on track, have a plan of action. We always know about plans. They can always switch and move around, but you have to have one.
And they do.
And you have
They
to have
do,
one.
absolutely.
I think I have a question for you that came in that's going to be a nice one for y'all to play with. So, what happens in a situation, or how does someone handle if you think a couple friends, two couples, and someone has had obviously an affair with the friend's situation. How do they evolve from a friendship after that? I mean, everybody's been friends, and now it's a situation where this hasn't happened because they were such good friends. They were all hanging out together, and everybody, and they're like family, and this happens. How do you balance down healing that process? Do you go everybody goes to counseling, or do you just move on? Should you just move on from something?
So that's very entangled.
Wait, and are they trying to all stay friends? Does everybody want to remain friends?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Bridget, go ahead. Yeah.
You're the couples therapist. No, I'm joking.
No,
they
really need to start within themselves first.
What I'm hearing straight away is that sounds very entangled, right? And so and I'm going to let Margarita answer, but the first thing that she just said, which is, what's the goal here? Is the goal to still be amicable, to maintain these deep friendships? That could be potentially very awkward.
It's almost like
unless it's like a
polyamorous
type situation
Well,
where people are accepting it.
Is it polyamorous? Is it? Is everyone trying to stay monogamous? So there, you said entanglement, right? Enmeshment, kind of. The boundaries went down. The boundary was, this is a friendship. There's 4 people in this friendship, right?
Yeah.
And everyone are friends. They are not intimate partners. And then somebody broke somebody else's trust and went outside of those boundaries.
Right.
And I'm sure this happens so often.
More than
And the reason I say that is because you hear about the divorce rate and you hear about how people are so entangled, and it goes back to the authenticity. I mean, how authentic was your friend? How authentic? And that's a hard thing.
Right.
So I didn't mean to cut you off, but I'm sure I just go
I think this is a good place for us to say that we're not providing therapy here on the radio show.
But I mean, you're being general. But it's a general conversation.
General ideas about that type of situation. I think we need to figure out what's happening here. Is it what's the goal to maintain? 2 couples who are trying to maintain monogamy going forward.
Well, would that be a great opportunity for them to go to counseling?
Sure.
Yes.
Absolutely, because it'll teach you why you went outside of that relationship, right?
Right.
Why did you violate those boundaries, and you didn't turn towards your partner, you turned away towards somebody else who you were more comfortable with, right? So that means something else is going on with you and your partner where you didn't feel...
Because it's 2 people, there's multiple people involved.
Yes.
Right? There's not just one person that broke the trust and authentication, it's several. So there's individual...
I was just going to say
as well.
That's what I was just going to say. That sounds like it would be appropriate for people to have some individual work and then some couples work.
Right.
If that's right.
Yeah, and typically when you come into couples therapy, more times than not, I will refer out to a colleague saying that, hey, here are some things you need to work on personally, and this is what we're working on as a couple, so they can be different things, right? And in order to grow as a couple, you need to sort some things out.
Interesting. Right. Well, we'll take another quick commercial, and when we come back, we'll talk some more.
We are broadcasting live from the Woodlands, Texas to the world. You're listening to the only multimedia FM station in Houston, Texas. Your fusion radio. Top 40s, dance, Latin, country, pop, rock and roll. All in one station. Mixing genres and generations. You're listening to KNLY, New Waverly, Texas. 91.1 FM, The Boss.
It's time to be super again. It's beach season. Killer abs.
Do you feel that your energy costs are unnaturally high? Do you want to fortify your building and keep it strong and secure for years to come? Then NRG Spray Foam Insulation is the answer you're looking for. Our unique foam insulation is made to help our customers save in energy, prevent gas, air, and moisture infiltration, as well as helping with general stability in your building structure. Call us at 713-936-3021 or visit us online at nrgfoam.com for more information. NRG Spray Foam. Building green, living green.
This message was from a proud sponsor to KNLY 91.1 FM.
For any maintenance needs on your commercial or personal vehicle, EVG Lonstar Service specializes on European, Asian, and domestic vehicles. We can assist you with wheel alignments, tire balance, AC services, computer and electric diagnostic, and more. We're located at corner of 1230 Aldine Mail Route and Reeston Road in Houston 77039. Our phone number is 936-344-1672, or you can find us on our webpage www.evglss.com. EVG Lonstar. If it's got wheels, we can fix it.
This was a proud sponsor of KNLY 91.1 FM.
For fresh flowers fast, call Barb's Iris Floral at 281-820-2294 with excellent customer service since 1983 for weddings, funeral services, sweet 15s, corporate events, and all occasions. For that special someone you love, barbsirisfloral.com and barbsirisfloralboutique.com. Come on in and pick out of our prestigious gallery at 727 Westmont Houston Road, Houston, Texas 77038. Text 832-466-8414. Barb's Iris Floral delivers fresh flowers fast.
This message was from a proud sponsor to KNLY 91.1 FM.
H-Town is the most culturally diverse city in America. H-Town Award's sole mission is to celebrate the great diversity of our city. Our artists, citizens, and philanthropists and businesses are second to none. H-Town is the best city in the world, and our people are the best people on earth. Join us in celebrating all musical genres and the diversity of our beautiful city. H-Town Award Show, November 2019. We'll see you there.
For more information, follow us on social media at H-Town Awards or send us an email at info@htownawards.com.
This was a proud sponsor of KNLY 91.1 FM.
Hey, welcome back to Today with Cachet. It's Friday. We're here in the Woodlands, and yes, it is all about relationships. And we are here with the wonderful Margarita and Bridget talking all about that. And we were talking earlier about, the stigma, move on. Now everyone can go in and, hey, it's the coolest thing to do on the block. Everybody, let's go get some counseling. Yay! Have counseling and have a food party afterwards and have some fun. So
it's all the rage.
But let's be honest. I mean, can y'all do that? Can we have I'm always, me, I'm the girl that's always doing events and parties. Can we have a counseling party? But anyway, to the point earlier about, go on in, have a plan, start somewhere. But let's be realistic. I mean, I know I'm saying that, but there are going to be a number of people out there who still aren't going to be comfortable going in, or are going to be like, I want to go, but I'm just too busy. Mm-hmm. I mean, what can we still do? Are there other options out there?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So actually, I provide most of my folks are online therapy sessions.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I do couples therapy as well as individual therapy, and it's virtual. You literally can do it off your phone.
Okay.
Some people don't even use a camera because they're uncomfortable.
Right.
And I've had very successful
sessions. Almost like the black screen talking effect.
Yep, or over your phone. And as you get more comfortable, we could turn on the video, but it is literally from anywhere, depending on your schedules, mostly any reasonable time. Some therapists go as early as 6 a.m., right? So you have so many options that accessing therapy nowadays is more or less easy. I mean, I do Virginia, Texas, and Florida. Anyone who lives in one of those three states can work with me through virtual reality, I guess.
Which is really huge.
Yeah.
And I'm in New York and Texas. I was licensed in Virginia, but I let that go because I don't do. But it also doesn't need to be just the traditional four walls and you lie on the couch. That thought that we have right from old school psychotherapy that. I do walk and talk sessions. I do some phone and video.
You take someone out for a walk?
And I do online and phone sessions too. I tend to like to have the person with me.
Yeah.
So sometimes we get out of the therapy office or we use different modalities in the office just to kind of
Can we go shopping? Can we go shopping with credit cards?
That's something you're working on.
You're like, yes, if y'all get something. If y'all get something.
What's the goal?
I gotta go to the therapist, honey. I gotta go to the therapist. It's all about my therapy bill. Okay, go ahead.
So but we try to make it convenient and comfortable for our clients, and so that they can. It's all about them reaching their goals, right?
Yeah.
Developing that insight and
I guess
making the changes they want to make.
There is no more excuse to say I can't get there. I don't. And I want to touch this. It's a great point. We talk in society mental health. You hear about it with the schools in our community. the suicidal rates and things of that nature. We can now go into that corner a little bit, but we had to come up, I'm sure, with methods that made it very open, because there are a lot of people out there that are so dark and hidden in their minds that they can't ever find that way to be like so direct and so open, like, here it is, I want to come talk to you. So a lot of these ways are, I'm sure, an extension that y'all are providing to the schools, and it's really been effective, I'm sure.
I mean, I feel it is. I feel that when you have somebody to talk to and explore what's going on for you, even so, I know we were talking about goals and plans before, but even if your goal is, I don't know what's wrong, I just know something's not right.
Right,
You hear that.
true.
That's a good goal.
Right.
You just show up with that, and we will walk you through how to get to potentially where you may want to go.
Right.
So you don't have to have all the answers. All you have to do is kind of pick up the phone or shoot, on my thing, it's you literally click and it asks you for information, and I call you at your convenient time.
Right.
And it's just, we've made it so super easy to access us. If you're still hesitant, think about why is that? Why is it that I won't reach out to somebody?
And don't
That's
underestimate
great. That's
the
a great
power
point.
of suggesting that someone that you care about get some help. Because
Oh, that's
sometimes,
huge.
right?
A
Because
friend or somebody,
and that
hey,
can feel vulnerable to say that too.
Yeah.
But if you know someone that's struggling, whether that's an adult or a parent, child, whatever, that being brave enough to take that step and say, I see that you're going through a hard time, and don't be offended, but it helped when I talked to someone. And people will often say, well, I have a lot of friends. I talk to my friends. That's great. And we know that having friends is really important. However, the therapeutic relationship is the only relationship you'll ever have in your life that's all about you.
Yep.
Friendships are two-way because they're meant to be two-way streets, right?
Yep.
The therapist is there, and that entire 45 minutes or an hour is all about you.
Right.
And that's a very unique
You bring out a very
relationship
good
in
point.
life.
You bring out a great point, because if you're sitting with your friend, 90% of the time, it's going to be, they're going to want to make you feel good. They're not going to necessarily, and
they have their thoughts and opinions.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And they don't have the expertise, number one. But number two, I don't want, how many times have you heard, well, I just didn't want to tell them. I really thought
That
this,
right
but I
in your
didn't want to tell them that.
Yes.
Then if I can't have you be an authentic friend,
Right.
which we just said,
Right.
90% or more, not like this, direct cachet,
Right.
you got to go to a counselor.
And your friends have
Yeah.
needs in that. Your friends also have needs in the relationship
Sure.
because that's the way it's meant to be. So this is just all about exploring what's going on with you, and the therapist is solely devoted to your needs. And we're supposed to be a neutral, affirming, warm, welcoming, party that isn't, your girlfriend's going to have some opinions about what you're going through, right? And we may have our opinions too, but we're trying to approach it neutrally and clinically and therapeutically.
Well, I can't speak for other therapists. I know for myself, I do my best not to bring my personal opinions or thoughts into your session, because
sure
it's
that's
not
different.
about it's not about me. And so what we do is we really find what's important to you and how to help you with that. And a lot of people are afraid to come into therapy because they're afraid they're going to be judged.
Sure.
Or
they're embarrassed.
They're embarrassed, right? Whatever happened, we don't judge. That's not our job, right? This is not a social call. It is a therapy call, and so
that's right.
And
you may be being judged in every other area of your life, right? But your therapist isn't going to judge you.
And I think what I'm hearing out of this is people need to be a leader. People need to take the lead and be creative in helping someone that is hurting, whether it be personal, someone you talk to at the store. If we do that more as individuals, and we, like you said, reach out. I jokingly said, hey, I'm the girl that does a party, we have a party. But, who's to say we didn't have 5 girlfriends and have a house party, have you ladies there. We all ping out conversations and questions
never done
to you.
that.
That's really
Of course,
interesting.
Cachet's always, hey, guys,
Okay.
I'm the creative girl. So
Kind of like group therapy.
Who's to say that we could not
But we
do
can't
that?
be
I would
your
love
friend.
that.
We can be the
No, but I
therapist.
would
We
love
can't
to
be
be
your
that
friend.
where we have a group of 10 ladies or so, or a group of guys and
Right.
gals, and we're sitting there, couples, and it's like, here's some concerns I have, or here's something that happened with us. And
Right.
y'all are there to sit down in a nice environment.
Right.
That if we can do that more as a community and more as individuals, and we start doing that,
Like a
I
process
think
group.
we
Like a
start
process group.
we start growing as a society.
Right.
And all of this stigmas and all of these lack of authentication, lack of being communicative, lack of all of these vulnerabilities would start to heal themselves because we would incorporate you in our lives in a group setting.
With
and
no
I think
stigma.
I think that's the key. So, okay, that's what we're going to do.
I love it.
Cachet's going to start one in the Woodlands.
Yes.
Yay! And fascinating having you ladies. I'm so thankful.
Thank
We're going to
you
go to
for
lunch
having
because
us.
I just want to thank
Thank
you
you.
for everything y'all have done, and I really appreciate y'all coming in these last few Fridays. And
We've really enjoyed
Thank
it.
you. Yes.
We've really,
Thank you for
totally
having us
enjoyed
on.
it.
have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you.
Go get some counseling.
Be well.
Go have some fun, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.